Okay, Mr. Yue, could you share with us some of your memories of growing up in Chinatown?
Okay. Actually, all my life I have been living in Chinatown. I was born in Craig Road, where the Hokkien call them the Teng Tiam Hang. It's in Hokkien. And from there, I moved to, at that time, the most expensive HDB flat in Cantonment Road, which is now the Pinnacles. So that flat is gone. And then again, I shifted down to Cantonment Road, where it's now the police cantonment, so it's gone again. And I shifted to Outram Park, and it's gone again. So now finally I got married and I stayed in the Upper Cross Street. So that's my brief so-called life in Chinatown until now. But in those days, you know, we are all poor. The rooms are all very small, so the only place where we really can enjoy as kids, we will be running all over the place. So when we are younger, we will be in the Craig Road area where there is a very big park, which used to be the railway line that goes to the Greenwich station. And then as I grow older, of course, my mother allows me to walk a bit further, so I start strolling into Chinatown. And that's when I start to explore the different parts of Chinatown. Right? Most people know Chinatown as the part that's around Smith Street, the Canal Street, which is more like a Cantonese Chinatown. But then when you go over to, for instance, Amoy Street, Loy Street, and Hokkien call it Gao Ging Kao, outside the Gamblers Den, that's Hokkien. And then you move over the Ellenborough Market, Teochew Street, that's the Teochew area. So these are the few areas I would use to walk around, just to explore whatever there is out there.
I see. So is there anything you miss very much from those childhood days, like maybe a particular food that a hawker is selling by the street, or people that you see around the area?
Oh yes, of course. Of course, I will miss the smell, even it doesn't sound very pleasant. Maybe the dirt, because in those days, in the middle of Chinatown, you have the wet market, and you just cannot be walking through the streets with your feet clean. And those are the days when you see many people will use Crocs. You see ladies carrying their usual basket. They're very conscious in those days compared to now. Maybe because we're poor. So no plastic bags. We just carry those kind of cane kind of basket to go shopping. And the ladies will be wearing some full with Crocs so that they don't get their feet wet. Things you don't see nowadays. Even to buy a pair of Crocs is so expensive these days. There used to be one shop in Chinatown that makes Crocs, but people hardly use, although there are still people who use it in the bathroom in the HDB flats. Part of remnants of the tradition. Of course, there are a lot of food stores that's gone. We always seem to think, or maybe it's true, but it's like some of those food seems more delicious in those days than now. And we used to say that because it's dirty, therefore the things taste better. Like there's one that sells Yao Yi Yong Choi. That's the Cantonese for the cuttlefish with kangkong. It's very interesting mix. And this is only sold at night, where in the daytime it's a wet market. In the night time it's like a night bazaar, a pasar malam, you know. I mean, we will sit like a kindergarten setting because the stools are all very low. We sit down there and we eat. That was the days we remember because we know we only can order once. The second time we order, we get scolding from the old lady. But the food is good. Everybody kills up, right?
I see.
Yeah, and of course there's the vegetarian bihun that I think I told you about. We have been going there since before the kids arrived. So now my son is like 18 years old. So it's more than 20 years. And I remember when I saw a TV program on them in Japan. It was 1976. And they were outside along the streets. But now it's shifted into the Chinatown complex. The food taste runs because they change cooks now like after a few years. But it's still the style is very different kind of vegetarian bihun. So that one's still there. At least it's still there, but the rest of them are gone.
I see. Do you have any other like favorite place in Chinatown today?
Not exactly, because as I was trying to look for a place for us to meet and say, hey, suddenly there isn't any place that I could just sit down there and drink coffee. In the old days, yes. In the old days, even like near my place, you know, the Yehua, the originally the Southern Hotel. Downstairs there used to be an Akko, you know, the Hainanese coffee shop, and it's just like a nice place. You sit down in the morning, you have good coffee, maybe a plate of wanton mee, and you just watch the days go by, the people walk past us. Those were my favorite places.
I see. Yeah.
These days, interestingly, if I were to go to Chinatown and say, have something, especially with my daughter, we will end up with the Austrian sausages.
I see, I see. Okay, so could you tell us more about the activities that you are involved in at Chinatown?
Actually, it's more of my so-called one-man show that I do alone.
Okay.
Because I'm not really actively involved in Chinatown per se, but of course, I have become active in the Xionglin's Nanin Musical Association. And that was because I was interested. So I went to Tian Ho King Temple, where they do a performance 3 times a year during the Goddess of Mercy's festival. And that's how I meet some of the people here. And they say, hey, you're interested, come along. And because this is basically very much Chinese based, so maybe I'd say if I do something in English, because I'm more English educated, my Chinese is hopeless, I could kind of help to reach out to the English speaking world. So that's how I got involved in this part. Other than that, I thought I could do a blog. And the timing could not be worse or better, because that was a time when the blogs were available. The technology is simple to use. So I started writing about what it was like in Chinatown when each time I pass by, if I go to pass a place and look at the chicken rice, oh yes, I remember those days where my wife and I, the time we were dating, we used to go for the Cantonese chicken rice. Right? Singaporeans know only about the Hainanese chicken rice. So it's, hey, that's the Cantonese, and we were eating, on the streets. It was a very interesting memories for us. So by walking by, looking at certain things, it kind of brings me back to those days. So I start writing those in the blogs, and I get some responses here and there. The interesting part is, for some reason, I wrote about a young kid swimming pool, because in my young days that was my escape. Right? My mom said no swimming. Right? Those days the folks are always worried that you get drunk, because most of us don't know how to swim. So we would save money, buy a pair of swimming trunks, hide in my friend's place, run over there, save the money, pay 10 cents to go inside and swim. And I wrote about this, and there are many people who actually wrote back and said, hey, I remember those young kid days. So it was kind of interesting, because then you also tied up with people who were in the same place, same time, those years. And of course now, probably for the kids, there are a lot of students who actually do research on Chinatown, and they will ask some of these questions. So where I can remember, I can still remember, I share with them.
I see. So on the whole, what do you think Chinatown means to you and your family? Do you regard it as like part of your identity?
Oh yes, yes. I always regard Chinatown as like the root of the Chinese community in any country. If you go to any country, right, of course in Singapore it's more diluted in that sense, but if you go to any other country, the first place I go will be Chinatown, right, to see how is it like. And of course that's a place where you default for food. If you want nice Chinese food, you just got to go to Chinatown. Like when I was in San Francisco, you go to Chinatown, you have dim sum. And interestingly, you only speak Cantonese, because those people there only understand Cantonese in the heart of Chinatown. This place used to be where you only communicate in Cantonese, but these days it's mainly Mandarin. So I believe that Chinatown is a place which actually you preserve the traditions, the customs. Although some people wrote in the paper and say Singapore is one big Chinatown. But it's quite different, because in this Chinatown you have the history, how the first Chinese arrived in Singapore, how they started their own clans association, how they take care of each other, and this is where they start expanding. Of course, over time with urban renewal, these people all start moving out. If you talk to any of these Singaporeans nowadays, I'm sure every one of them could say, hey, my great-grandmother, my grand-uncle used to live in Chinatown. And of course they'll tell you of days when they have 16 people in one small room. Right? So I think Chinatown is still very important, although now it's more in the spirit, the feelings, and not so much of the physical structure. The structure is changing every day. Of course, that's something that we cannot stop, because we want to have better homes, we want to have better quality of life. But I still think that there's still much that could be done in Chinatown.
Do you think there are a lot of other people, like maybe yourself, who are still passionate about Chinatown?
Oh yes, yes. I think if you were to go into, like, for instance, the Singapore Heritage Society email group, where we have a bunch of us who are crazy about heritage all over Singapore, there's still a lot of people who are interested in Chinatown. I have another friend, Kelvin. He's also active with this association. he's very interested not only in Chinatown but Tiong Bahru as well, because these are areas where has some historical background to how the Chinese developed the culture there is. From the Singapore Heritage and from my blog, I sometimes get people who correspond with email about what do I know about this place in Chinatown. Most of the time I don't know. But when they tell me, then I start checking out, like, do you know there were SIT flats in Chinatown? And in those days I mentioned is SIT flats could be something like Tiong Bahru flats, the Art Deco flats, which there was one in a Smith Road. But interestingly, there are some of those that looks like normal shop houses that were actually under SIT flats. And that was what my wife told me, because she's also born in Chinatown.
Okay, so in your opinion, what is the most important element for keeping the heritage alive in Chinatown?
I think the first thing, probably easiest to think about, is the spirit, right? The spirit of Chinatown, which means we talk about the lives of the Chinese in those days, how they struggle, how they built Singapore, right? And how they preserve the customs. Easier said than done, because then how do we transform this to something concrete? Some of these are natural evolutions. Like if you go to Chinatown complex, amongst all the small shops, sundries, you'll find two shops selling all kinds of Chinese things about wedding. So when the Chinese want to get married, even the simple C, the logo and all this kind of thing, you go down there and you can buy. Some people want to have a basin, toothbrush, the typical things that one should have on the wedding day. That's the place you get. So this is where I think customs and traditions will thrive. So long as it's there, many people will start getting curious about their tradition and their customs, the few important milestones of their life. The baby's month-old celebration, right, which has changed a lot. The wedding, right? The wedding used to be a source of a lot of conflicts, especially when you have a Hokkien married in Cantonese and the Cantonese say, I must have the roast pig, right? And the Hokkien say, huh? So those are interesting things that happen. And of course, when somebody dies. So these are times when traditions and customs comes alive. In Chinatown, I think some of these are still around. Of course, the Sago Lane and the Deaf Streets is no more there. But I think some of these traditions are still there. You still can find Taoist priests. At least Taoist priest is still based somewhere in Chinatown. So I think some of this heritage, the local people, they know their sources. They know where to find them. But I think interestingly is that we don't have like a directory. If you want to get married, you want a Chinese customs, who can you seek for advice? You got to hearsay. Somebody say, "Hey, I introduced you so and so," and then you might be able to find. Somebody just asked me, "I want to become a Chinese matchmaker of traditional wedding," and I said, "Okay, but I only know one person that is doing it, and she must be probably 80 years old now." So I think some of this, as the younger gets to the age where they start seeking their roots, they'll be looking for this, and Chinatown might become the best so-called repository or the place where you keep all these things and they know where to find. The question for these people is, can they survive on this business? I mean, end of the day, you still got to get the money to fill the stomach.